Now, missiles have struck the Ukrainian port city of Odesa less than 24 hours after Ukraine and Russia signed a deal over grain exports in the Black Sea. Ukraine's foreign ministry have described it as a spit in the face of UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres and Turkey's President Recep Erdogan. It's the most significant agreement involving the warring parties so far. Russian and Ukrainian officials signed deals with the UN and Turkey to resume grain exports through the Black Sea to help avert a global food crisis. Our correspondent Alex Rossi sent this report from Dnipro.
What we understand is a number of cruise missiles were fired from the Black Sea. Some of them were intercepted by missile defence systems, others did land. Some of them we think landed in the city, but others, it seems, landed in the actual port of Odesa itself, within the infrastructure itself. Now, we should point out that the agreement itself, known as the Black Sea Initiative, is quite limited. It's a very limited and focused ceasefire. Odesa itself is not exempt from hostilities, but the bits of the port that are needed to get the grain moving are. So what this means exactly, we don't know, but certainly I think many people are quite rightly seeing this as extremely cynical by the Russians and an act of really bad faith. Now, we have had some comments from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here in Ukraine. I'll just read some of it to you now. It took less than 24 hours for the Russian Federation to launch a missile attack on the port of Odesa to question the agreements and promises it made to the UN and Turkey in the documents signed yesterday in Istanbul. The Russian missile is Vladimir Putin's spit in the face of UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres and the Turkish president, who made enormous efforts to reach an agreement and to whom Ukraine is grateful. Ukraine emphasises the need for strict implementation of the agreements regarding the restoration of safe export of Ukrainian agricultural goods through the Black Sea ports. We call on the UN and Turkey to ensure that Russia complies with its obligations within the framework of the safe functioning of the grain corridor. In case of non-fulfillment of the agreements reached, Russia will bear full responsibility for the deepening of the global food crisis. So, listening to that, it would sound that the agreement is still alive. Whether or not there's still going to be further mediation, nobody knows. Now, Antonio Guterres described it as a beacon of hope, he said, on the Black Sea. That perhaps wasn't the best way of describing it even yesterday, more like a flicker of hope, and a flicker that can be easily extinguished. Now, certainly, this is very problematic for other reasons. The agreement is extremely complicated in terms of the logistics. Ultimately, it's a commercial agreement. These are commercial ships that are going to take grain out of these ports. They also need to be insured. Cruise missiles slamming into the port of Odesa is not a particularly good look for them. Is anybody going to be involved in this deal? So that's another extremely big question. And of course, if the deal falls down, the grain doesn't come out, the food crisis, which is worsening in some of the poorest countries of the world, is only going to become even more profound.